Life is precious. I think we would all agree. But often we find that we take the very things that we do every day in life for granted until something happens in a blink of an eye. Hey, I'm Tom Russo, and this is In a Blink of an Eye, where we discuss stories from ordinary people whose lives are changed in an instant and how they overcame through faith, courage, and determination. Join me on this podcast for uplifting stories of how people face various challenges and learn to not only survive, but thrive. In a Blink of an Eye is sponsored by Marketplace.live. Find what you need and get what you want at Marketplace.live. That's Marketplace.live. And I am so thrilled to have with me today Denny Johnson. Denny, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tom. Glad to be here.
This is exciting for me. I know you have a story to tell, and we're going to get to that. But before we do, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, things like that.
Yep. I was born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. Graduated from Theodore High School in 1982. That's where I pretty much grew up, and that's where I met my first wife, and that's going to be part of my story, where I met my first wife, Karen, and we got married at a very young age, and I got saved actually at the age of 31 at a
Outstanding.
First Baptist Children's Corner Church. We adopted two children. We were foster parents for a while, and then eventually adopted two children out of foster care. And
Okay.
John and Amberly. John was 12. Amberly was special needs. She was at the time just turned 7.
Okay.
And right now I work at I'm a sales rep for 1-800-Radiator.
And we'll make sure we plug them too. 1-800-Radiator. I'll make sure I'll put it on the screen down below us.
Yeah. Right now I'm very active in my church. I'm actually an ordained pastor. I teach Sunday school. I get to preach a little bit at the church that I'm a part of, and love to play. Yep. Have a few hobbies. Love to play golf. I was in the martial arts.
I shoot about 100, and then I play the back 9.
Yeah, right. I was in the martial arts for a long period of time. Love fitness. And now I'm married to my beautiful second wife, Gianna. We've been married now for a little over 3 years. And so I live in Fairhope now. So that is my home in Fairhope. And so,
Okay. All right. Well, let's go back in time a little bit. You talked about your first wife, Karen, and you both adopted these 2 wonderful children, and that was an exciting time in your life, and I'm sure that was a new beginning for the kids and yourself. And becoming a parent is obviously very, very alarming for anybody, and so I'm sure that was an exciting time.
Yes, absolutely.
But there was a dark thing that happened, unfortunately, soon thereafter. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so shortly right after the adoption of John and Amberly, like I said, Amberly just turned 7, John was 12, and 3 months into the adoption, Karen came down, and eventually she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer.
Oh, no.
And so my world was completely turned upside down at that point.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and so here I am, just with, we just adopted these 2 children, and now my wife is diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, and you're talking about a change. You're talking about a life change, right?
Absolutely, and with that diagnosis and I know she ultimately perishes from that, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But during that first diagnosis, I know that had to shake your faith to the core. I mean,
Oh,
it just does.
oh, sure,
We're
absolutely,
humans.
yeah,
And
yeah,
tell
no
me
doubt.
about that process with you, how you coped with that and helped her cope with it too.
Yeah. Well, because of strong faith, like I said, I gave my life to the Lord at the age of 31. Karen was a believer at the age of 15. And so our faith was very, very important, and strong faith. We were committed to our church. We had already, we've been teaching Sunday school, third and fourth grade Sunday school for the last, 16 years or so. Very committed to our church, very committed to the things of God, right? And so when this happened, I guess this is the test of your faith. This is where
Well,
the
that's the
proof of
ultimate
your
test. Yeah, it
the
really is.
ultimate test. Yes, exactly. So because you're teaching about these things, you're teaching about how you're going to have strong faith through very difficult times. But when it actually happens to you, and then you've got to apply that for your own life. It's still devastating, and there are still questions.
Well,
Uh,
and I know when my own malady happened, you go through the time period of why me, why us, why is this happening? We're good people. What did we do? What did we do to invoke this? And how did you kind of overcome that? Was there a particular Bible verse or just faith in general or family and friends? What helped you, or a combination of all the above? What did you lean on?
yeah, it definitely totally leaned on my church. I tell people I don't know how people can not live this life and not be associated with their local church, because in Karen's death, of course, I was in between jobs. I didn't even have insurance as she was in the hospital. So I was in between jobs, so I had no insurance in this. And so
You
it
had
was,
financial pressures, you had new parent pressures, you had a
uh,
special needs child, and now you had a wife with a terminal illness.
exactly. And man, I'm telling you, talking about leaning on your church, leaning on your faith, it's just, it's a lot of prayer. It's a lot of support. And yes, it's a lot of just all of that combined, right? Where you're really leaning on Jesus to get you through a very, very difficult time. Um, and so it's all of that. It's a combination of all of that. Um, and of course, after her death, when she did pass, man, she was taking care of all of the bills, our finances. All I had to do was just go work, and she was taking care of the
Yeah.
home. And so
How long did she struggle, Denny?
it was very short period of time when she was diagnosed. We finally got her to the doctor because she was paranoid of doctors. She had a fear of doctors and needles.
I am right there with her.
Yeah,
I am.
and it took family intervention to finally get her, to go to the hospital. But by the time they got her there and they diagnosed her, it was too late,
It had
and
ravaged her body already.
it was only a couple of months after that, and she was
Oh
gone.
my Lord.
Yep.
That is, and that really is a blink of an eye. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't sound like 2 months, but yes, you're never ever prepared for that. And so
Right.
after she passes, I know you told me off camera a beautiful story of her funeral.
Yes.
Tell the audience this story, because I found this just so moving and so touching. And I don't
Yeah.
steal your thunder. I have to hear it again because it gave me
Absolutely.
goosebumps.
Yeah. Well, my sister, she tells me, she says, you know, Denny, you need to tell your story. And because part of that is she's part of that story as well, and a lot of other people. And so I've had the privilege to actually witness miracles through this whole tragedy that have taken place. And I'm actually still witnessing the miracles of it all. And so, right after Karen's death, again, my whole world was just completely turned upside down. I'm just trying to get it through the day, right? And so we had our funeral, and we had it at the church, First Baptist Tillman's Corner. And people came out of the woodworks. I mean, there were people that she grew up with, she went to high school with, she went to elementary school with. These people came out of nowhere.
A beautiful tribute to the woman she was.
Yes, yes. And she was, Karen was not only a beautiful person on the outside, but also had a beautiful heart. And she made an impact on a lot of people through her life. And so at the funeral, we had it at the church. People came from everywhere. And the funeral director, matter of fact, there was a person there that was taking photos of the funeral. And we were just like, that was weird. Never seen anything like that before. And she made the comment, she says, she said, this is like more of a wedding field than it is a funeral.
It was a celebration of life.
Yeah. And so I just thought that was kind of like, wow, okay. So the funeral director came to me, and he had his phone out, and he said, Denny, I need you to be aware that there's a severe storm that's fixing to come about, and we may have to postpone the gravesite for another day. And I said, of course, I'm not in my right mind. And I said, absolutely, whatever you got to do, I get it. He said, well, I'm going to tell your pastor. I'm going to go to your pastor and let him know that we're probably just going to cancel the gravesite, and we'll do that maybe tomorrow or the next day. And I'm just agreeing with whatever, because I'm not even in the right.
It's a blur at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, I'm thinking we're not going to do that, have the gravesite, that we were just going to end right there at with the church service. Well, they called the pallbearers to come up and to take the casket, and we're going out the front door, I'm thinking, okay, I thought, I didn't think we were going to the gravesite or whatever. Come to find out that when he went to talk to Brother Greg at the time, my pastor, Brother Greg told me this later. He said, no, we're not going to do that. He says, I just believe that he's going to show up today. And so I didn't know that. He told me that afterwards. So they open up the front doors of the church. They're taking a casket and putting Karen in the back of the hearse. And it was one of those days, you've probably experienced this type of rainstorm where
Houston, brother, we experience all kinds of rain.
This rain was sideways. And it was blowing. Almost like hurricane force winds. It was ridiculous. Right. Umbrellas were turning inside out as people were trying to scramble to their cars. Right. And I just can't believe that we're actually
going to try to go through with a burial.
Yeah. And also keep in mind too that week I had to actually go to the funeral home and actually pick out her gravesite just that week before. Put my foot on the piece of ground where she was going to be buried, and I didn't even have the financial capabilities of even taking care of her burial. The church actually helped me with that.
Amen. That's unbelievable, and that's
yeah. So many miracles and so many God moments where God just showed up, and so we're getting into the hearse and we're on our way to the gravesite, and my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, they're in the front seat. I'm in the back seat with my son John, and so as we're getting close to the gravesite, pouring down rain, and can't even hardly see the lights of the hearse in front of us. It's still that bad. And as we get closer, my mother-in-law, she looks out the front window of the car, and she notices this, like a hole in a cloud, this bright,
almost like an eye of a storm or something.
Yeah. And so I'm looking through the window, through the back seat, and I see it myself, and it was like, okay, that's unusual. That's that's wild. And as we get closer, all of a sudden I realized, I said, that looks like that is right over Karen's grave. And Miss Davis says, it sure does, doesn't it? It sure looks like that. So the closer we get, sure enough, we get there, and it's about 100-yard or so radius, where it is completely calm, and there's complete sunshine. But you can see within about a 100-year radius around you, that it's
Pouring down rain. It's coming down.
Yeah.
That is
but
definitely
right here,
a God thing. I mean,
Yeah.
who can deny that? That is, I got goosebumps when you first told me that story, and I've got them again from you telling me again, because that's so beautiful. God smiling down and welcoming her into His arms, and that's beautiful.
So we get out of the car, and as we're walking up, and everybody's putting their umbrellas away because everybody's in awe of what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. And as I'm moving forward, my pastor and my sister come running up to me, and they grab me by the arm, and they just, my sister said, "Can you believe this? Can you believe this?" She practically ran out of her shoes. And my sister, basically, she became an atheist. I mean, she really rejected her faith. And so she was staying with me. Her and Karen were good friends, so she was staying with me. She knew our relationship. So, but anyways, we're there, and we're experiencing this miracle. And Brother Greg stopped me, and he said, "Denny," he said, "look at the ground." And so I'm like, okay, what do you want me to say? Anyway, he starts kicking up dust, and the rain hadn't even fallen there on the ground.
Wow.
It's just a miracle. And as we get closer to her tent, these three white dove, pass over her tent. And at that moment, for me, it was just confirmation from God that says, I'm here, I'm in control. Karen's in good hands, and it's all going to be good, right? And so for me, it was just that moment of comfort, knowing that it is going to be okay, and I'm going to get through this. But yeah,
that is such a beautiful story, and it's confirmation of God's hand in everything. There's a plan. We don't always understand the plan.
Exactly.
But we have to give it up to the Lord to do His will. And and that is wonderful. Now, you mentioned something about your sister. You said that she was kind of an atheist. Take me through that, because I think there's a positive to the end of that story there.
Yeah. So, we don't think about this as believers when Christians die, and especially Christians who are committed to God, that God is not going to let one of His children's death go unnoticed, so to speak, right? And so I didn't realize the impact of Karen's death and how that was going to affect people, whether it's people in my church, my family members. We prayed a lot for our families, that they would come to know the Lord as their Savior. I witnessed to my sister many, many times on several occasions, and every time she would, if we go out to dinner for something, I would share Jesus with her. She'd say, she'd roll her eyes in the back of her head and say, "Not again, Danny. We have to talk about religion again." And I'm like, "Sis, I just, I care about you.
I care about you. Right.
Yeah. And I just want you to know this peace and joy that I have, for knowing Jesus myself." And so, but it took this, the death of my wife, Karen, for her eyes to be open.
For her eyes to be open. So that was a silver lining in this horrible tragedy, was to bring another sister closer to Christ.
Exactly. And not only her, but other family members, church family that came to me after and told me their own personal stories saying, because of Karen's death, I'm closer to the Lord today than I've ever been. Um, uh, so, um, her life and her death, many lives were changed. There were women that came to me, texted me, talked to me about they went and got a breast exam, checked out for
because of that. Yes.
Yes, and come to find out that several women, because it was early detected, that they were able to get treatment and get
Amen. That's great.
So yeah, so many great stories and outcomes of people's lives being changed through this whole process. And so it's hard, I look back on this and I can say now for sure, that I am grateful. I am very thankful and grateful, for those things, because you didn't know what God was up to. I didn't know what he was up to. I couldn't see it. All I could see was just my pain, right? And so that's
that is such a beautiful thing when you stop and think about all the bad things that are in the world, but there's so much good, and
yeah,
we tend to concentrate on the negatives so much. And while I'm certainly not making light of your wife's death, because that was a horrific thing, but it's a horrific thing for those of us that are left. She's in paradise.
right.
And
Yes.
so that's the thing as Christians that we have to believe, and we have our faith. And I'm glad that you brought your sister closer to Christ. But let's go back to that moment in time. Now you've buried your wife. You had this amazing happening, but you've got two kids that you just adopted.
Yeah.
One with special needs, and
Yeah.
and you're financially struggling. You've got things. How did you overcome some of those things?
Yeah, well, again, it's just because it's your faith. It's where you trust in God on a daily, moment by moment. I want to make this very clear. It's where you're trusting God moment by moment, right? Where you don't even know how. I tell people this, for the first 2 years, the first 2 years were a blur, literally. I'm just trusting God and just moment by moment. And through all that process, Tom, where I was able to experience God's hand, miracles, his provision. Okay. I mean, there would be checks that would come in the mail. I tell people this. My son, who's now 25, he can verify these things. He would go out and check the mail, and there would be a check there that would pay for my rent. I mean, not for my mortgage. I would get a phone call from a tire place, Firestone, that would say, hey, Mr. Johnson, we got 4 tires here. Need you to bring your car in here. And I'm like, what? And they're just like, well, somebody came in and gave us your information, and they want to put 4 new tires on your vehicle. I'm food at the house when I'd come in the afternoons, and my church would bring, there'd be food there on the counter for days. Just miracle after miracle.
And it's that sense of community and faith that to me, that's what we need to be talking about. You watch the news and you hear all these negative things, but there's so many positive stories like this. And it came out of tragedy. It came out of tragedy. But you ultimately built yourself up. You got the job with 1-800-RADIATOR. You also met Gianna. How long before you met Gianna?
Yeah, so 10 years. Let's see here. Let me get my my years right here. So 3 years. About 10 years had gone by, and I had already made up my mind, because Amberly is a very difficult special needs child. A lot of needs, a lot of attention, and so a lot of work throughout the year. So And my thinking, I didn't think that I would be able to find somebody who would be willing to take on that responsibility. But yet God wasn't finished. Again, a miracle that took place here where God just brought us together. I was at a truck stop. I just bought me a motorcycle, and I was at a truck stop. I didn't have coffee at the house, and I was there at this truck stop, and I got me a cup of coffee, and this car was in front of me, and this lady she kept looking at me. We made eye contact, and she had a little girl, and I waved back and whatever. Well, she drove off, and she made a circle, and she came back, and I'm like, well, this is weird. And anyway, she rolled down her window, and she said, "You don't know me," she says, "but she said, I got to say something to you." She said, "God has laid something on my heart that I need to say something to you about." And I'm saying, "Oh, okay." And she began to tell me things about my personal life that this woman had no idea of
what had happened, what had transpired. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so she began to tell me about things about my life. She says, God's not finished with you. He's going to bring someone into your life, and he's got big plans for you. And I'm just like, I'm in tears. Because I'm thinking, I had just been praying and asking God, okay, God, what's next? And so it wasn't long after that, sure enough, through prayer, through asking God, what does he want from me? I got on Facebook dating app, and it wasn't long that me and Gianna started texting back and forth, and not long after that, probably within about a year or so, we're married. and
she's been able to embrace the children as well.
Yes.
So
she was willing
to positive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wonderful woman. I never thought that I would be able to find another lady like Karen, but God knew. God knew. And so he brought us together, and it's just been, a little over 3 years now, and it's just been awesome. And she's so awesome.
I'm so happy for you, Denny. And I got to tell you, we're already up against the 30-minute mark. Time flies when you're telling a great story and having great conversation. I want you to hang on for a moment, but I need to kind of wrap it up here. Hang on just a second.
Well, can I say something, Tom?
Absolutely.
Just want to say, man, thank you for this. I think, we talked about this, that I had been looking for an opportunity to share my faith and to share my story, and this came along, and so, man, I just wish you great success with this, and I just pray that this would encourage someone. All these podcasts that you do, man, I just hope it just reaches people, encourages people, and
thank you.
I'm just thankful.
Thank you so much. I felt called by God to do this when my misfortune happened with my eye, and I am grateful for the opportunity. You are my 11th episode, and this is exciting to me because I've told 11 different stories, and I'm getting feedback from people all over the country of
That's awesome.
Of how, it's touched them, or it helped them, or it's helping them get through a tough time, or they know someone that it might want to watch it, and so thank you for that encouragement. I appreciate that. Bear with me just a moment, and I'll wrap this up. If you like hearing uplifting stories like Denny's of overcoming challenges in life, click the like and subscribe button. It's somewhere around here. We'll find it. Perhaps you have a story of your own to share, an accident, a sudden loss, PTSD, alcohol or drug abuse, a natural disaster, illness, and you would like to share that journey of overcoming in faith. please contact me at the email shown below. And now I know I'm going to put that there for your consideration for a future podcast interview. I rely on viewers like you to share their stories. In fact, I met Denny through my other friend Paul, who had shared his story earlier in one of my previous episodes. Thanks again to Marketplace.live for their continued sponsorship to bring these great stories to all of us. Marketplace.live. Find what you want and get what you need. I want to thank everyone out there, especially my family, our military, veterans, and first responders who put their lives on the line every day. And we can't forget our teachers and medical professionals who all make the world better one person at a time. Most of all, thank God for all the blessings in our world. We just need to make sure that we concentrate on them every single day. Until next time, my friends, Carpe Diem, seize the day.